Welcome to Alaska Weather, a production of Alaska Public Media and the National Weather Service, Alaska Region. Produced and broadcast daily from the studios of KAKM, Alaska Weather provides complete forecasts, public, marine, and aviation for all of Alaska. Alaska Weather is made possible by the following sponsors.
The National Weather Service.
Hello everyone, thanks so much for joining us for this Saturday's edition of Alaska Weather. I'm Dave Percy. Show times, same as they've been for the last couple of months now, so we'll move on to the satellite imagery yesterday. Big upper high here over actually a little farther to the north there. This front that had come eastward across the Bering Sea earlier. Easterly flow holding it back to the west, this portion sliding off to the east, so it really weakening throughout the day. As I put that into motion, you can see the easterly flow here actually shoving that thing back to the west, and it's really stretching out. Had a split in the wind flow here with, again, the branch off to the northwest and the other jet off to the southeast. A break behind it, the next system rolling into the southwest Bering across the western Aleutians. And some snow showers there with low pressure center actually off the coast, and that kept some snow showers up along the North Gulf Coast into Prince William Sound, and just some high stuff here over the southern panhandle with the main storm down there moving into the east. We also had an area of persistent low clouds and flurries over the eastern Tanana Valley, and moving that again, you can see the kind of spiral motion to the cloud field there pushing up into Prince William Sound. And today, same thing going on. Snow showers earlier, some snow, actually overnight from Seldovia on up to Seward. And into Valdez, that's kind of shifted eastward during the afternoon. So the snow ended, wind swung around to the north at Seward, kicked up to about 25 miles an hour in gusts. And there's some snow over to Cordova, almost over to Yakutat, but much of the southeast coast clear today. And this front here brought some rain into the Pribilof Islands, back down across the western Alaska Peninsula to the eastern Aleutians. Really not much of a wind producer at all, and just light amounts of precipitation. Remnants of that old frontal boundary right through here, and there was a narrow band of light snow from the Yukon Delta all the way up to around the Nome area, and then back to the Bering Strait, lifting north of St. Lawrence Island. Although Savunga picked up about an inch of snow with that feature. North Slope, mostly clear and cold. Temperatures down around 20 below this afternoon, say at Umiat Airfield, and some areas of dense fog along the Arctic coast. Main low center out here over the Aleutians, just to the south there of Adak, with some showers from Atka back out toward Shimia, and pretty gusty northwest winds out here on the backside of this low with a colder air, rain and snow showers. Milder conditions, again, rain here for the Alaska Peninsula up to the Pribilof Islands. Unalaska picked up roughly, see if I can read my notes there, a third of an inch of rain today, or with that system moving into the Alaska Peninsula there, up to about an inch of snow in some areas here from the southwest coast up toward Nome, and as I mentioned, for Savunga. And a couple inches looked like fell around Seward overnight and into early this morning, but this low center pulled eastward, again dried it out, winds out of the north. Pretty fair conditions, mostly clear skies across south central Alaska, areas of the Copper River Basin, all the way up to the North Slope, except here over the eastern Tanana Valley, we had clouds from actually the north side of the eastern Alaska Range, right up to just about near or just south of Eagle, and just very light snow flurries with that. Gradient over the northern panhandle, with winds gusting up to 40 miles an hour at Eldwood Rock, otherwise much lighter down to the south. And forecast for tonight, not much change down there. Still breezy up over the northern panhandle, but mostly clear skies all the way down to Dixon Entrance. Could see a few snow showers around Yakutat. And this area of light snow here persists, or snow showers, the main low center troughing out right through here. But some of that might start working back in toward western Prince William Sound possibly as far east as the Talkeetnas or the Chugach Mountains late tonight, early tomorrow, but that's just a slight chance. Otherwise, no change over the interior, mostly clear. Some areas of cloudiness, especially the Copper River Basin and up to the north. This trough now, again, that pulling back, but still look for some light snow this evening. Nome over toward Teller and Wales, and possibly back into St. Lawrence Island. Areas of dense fog again along the Arctic coast there with a few flurries, continuing light winds up there. So it's not really going to go anywhere, the fog, with that high just off the coast. Northeast winds, good VFR here along the southwest coast down into Bristol Bay, picking up some scattered snow showers around the Pribilofs, and then much stronger winds coming in across the central Aleutians as this low center tracks to just south of the Fox Islands, an area of mixed rain and snow. From there up along the Alaska Peninsula, rain, wind on the increase. Kodiak Island later tonight, break in advance of that. And for tomorrow, it really doesn't move a lot, so it looks like a pretty wet day. Rain from start to finish for Kodiak. Not too bad on the winds though. Picking up the northeast winds here back to the west. Rain or snow possible there for the Alaska Peninsula. Again, from about Falls Pass right on up to say Igagik. Probably missing king salmon. And we've got moisture now will be throughout the day pulling northwestward here, so it's going to increase along the North Gulf Coast, and some of that spreading actually northward there, inland a ways, possibly into southern Cook Inlet. Should stay dry over northern Cook Inlet and the Susitna Valley. No change over the interior, day much like today in store for that area, all the way up to the Arctic coast. Same pattern, possible dense fog in areas with maybe a few light flurries. So generally IFR. And the southeast coast looking really good, maybe a little bit lighter on the winds there, but not too much. And light winds continue all the way down to Dixon Entrance. Back out to the west, cold air, north winds, snow showers all the way down to the eastern Aleutians, Nikolsky, maybe in Alaska, cutting off at about Atka, head of that sharp ridge out to the west, which is just ahead of the next storm, which tomorrow night will spread into the western Aleutians, and then by afternoon should push all the way with frontal passage around Adak, say at 3:15 Monday afternoon. Warm front spreading some rain into Nikolsky, and pretty good over the Pribilofs throughout much of the day. You probably won't see the effects of this until Monday evening. High pressure along the coast here. Light winds, maybe some isolated flurries, Amonic back to St. Lawrence Island. A little more extensive with that low in the Chukchi Sea up there, so Kivalina Point Hope, possibly Shishmaref, just a slight chance of maybe some light snow conditions there with cloudy skies. The interior, mostly clear, and on the chilly side, here right into Canada, high over the Yukon, but a trough up here brings a chance of snow, a little more continuous snow along the central Arctic coast on off to the east. Otherwise, that's about it for any snowfall. Except here could see some develop throughout the day. That area of moisture pulls back and kind of enhances as it approaches the Alaska range here. So could see some light snow in areas there from Iliamna right up. Some of that possibly could spill into the Kuskokwim Valley, but nothing significant, and that's just a chance. Otherwise, another wet day for Kodiak Islands. That front kind of hangs in the area there, but eventually pushing off to the east, this portion here driving some rain in toward Prince of Wales Island during the afternoon hours. And looks like a pretty good gradient with this. So we've got full gales out all along the coast, back to the west, 40-knot winds across the North Gulf Coast, and then north to northeast, lighter there for the Kodiak Island area. But Shelikof Strait looks like you'll be into gale force winds right up into Kamishak Bay. A windier day for both Cook Inlet and Prince William Sound as that gradient tightens up. But dry conditions, Copper River Basin, mostly clear skies again for all of the interior. Temperatures for the southeast coast today, upper 20s to mid 30s, 39 actually at Annette, that was the warm spot down there, 26 in Juneau with 30 at Yakutat, 28 Cordova, -2 at McCarthy, 0 at Gulkana, 9 at Northway, 4 below 0 at Fairbanks, even colder up to the north in Yukon Flats, Chalk-Yitzhak, 23 below, -18 at Umiat Airfield, otherwise Bettles -7, Tanana -3, Selawik also 3 below 0, but Kotzebue pushed up to 10. And that similar temperature pattern all the way up to Point Hope. Cape Lisburne somehow jumped up to 22. Otherwise, near or above 0 there along the Arctic coast. And there's a 7 at Shishmaref. Other side of the peninsula, though, Nome was up to 21, 30 degrees at Savunga. And along the southwest coast, lower to mid-20s there, much cooler teens across the deltas, and then down near zeros you get into the valleys. For the Bering Sea and Aleutians, all in the mid to upper 30s there. Nikolsky did reach 40 this afternoon. Upper 30s, the Alaska Peninsula, cooling to about 20 at King Salmon. And lows for tonight, again, 15 to 25 below here, North Slope, northeast interior, and down to about minus 20 again, say at Kaltag, minus 18, and single numbers all the way out to just about the coast, but Makoriak, 20 degrees, right at the freeze point for the Pribilofs, and the Aleutians upper 30s, 20s, teens and 20s for the Panhandle. Looking at highs for tomorrow, much like today, staying below 0 portions of the North Slope and down into the interior. Single numbers warm into the teens along the Yukon Delta coast to mid-20s for Nunivak Island, to mid-30s for the Pribilofs, and lower 40s for Adak and Atka. Southeast coast, 30s to near 40, and 20s for South Central Alaska. Flying weather tomorrow afternoon. Again, that front spreading IFR up across Kodiak Island, Shelikof Strait area. And that's going to kind of hold right there again, probably tomorrow night and into Monday. Marginal VFR on the increase here from the North Gulf Coast, and again pulling back to the west, so bringing portage down. Otherwise, pretty good VFR for the interior. Patchy fog, IFR in the Arctic coast. Really not too bad out here over the Bering Sea. And for passes, Anatuvik and Adigan, both open again tomorrow, as is Lake Clark, Merrill, and Rainy. All VFR. Windy VFR again. Isabel, Mentesta, VFR for the next couple of days. Same forecast for Tanita. Portage, marginal VFR. And throughout the day, look for some IFR to develop on that eastern entrance. And otherwise, Chilkoot and White open. Freezing levels, surface here north of St. Matthew Island there, and then down the coastline, cutting east along the North Gulf Coast and through the Panhandle, Prince of Wales Island, over to about say Metlakatla, 2,000 feet. Icing possibilities, again, moisture pulling northwest, so we'll see the icing threat increase across Prince William Sound and gradually pulling inland a little bit there and into the east side of the Kenai Peninsula. Better chance over Kodiak Island and down over to the eastern Aleutians. Otherwise, icing free for the Panhandle, much of the interior. And the next batch out there, that next storm poised to push into the western Aleutians tomorrow night. For the upper level wind flow chart, upper level high now pulling back to the northwest here, but easterly winds at about 70 knots at 33,000 feet here across the Arctic coast north slope. Pacific jet well to the south, kind of arcing up into the western Aleutians and then on down to the south out of the area. 9,000 feet, southerlies 35 knots. Eastern Gulf of Alaska turn easterly to northeast, 30 to 40 knots there. Alaska Peninsula, Kodiak Island wrapping back around from the northwest at 25 to 30, and 3,000 feet, 10 to 20 here through the interior. Otherwise lighter for the Arctic coast. Northeast 20 to 25, become northwest 25 to 30 there across the Alaska Peninsula, eastern Aleutians. Band of southerlies 30 to 35 knots. Drop off dramatically as you come into south central Alaska and the North Gulf Coast. Very light winds for the Panhandle. Turbulence-wise, looking like this, moderate chop, turquoise shaded area, southern Kenai Peninsula, down across Kodiak Island, Bristol Bay Peninsula, eastern Aleutians, and could be a little bumpy up here, especially for small aircraft through the north central interior, maybe the western Arctic coast, and turbulence definitely will be rolling into the Aleutians there out west tomorrow evening and tomorrow night, pushing to the central Aleutians on Monday. Pretty smooth over the Panhandle, could still be a little bumpy there over the northern areas. And after the break, I'll be back to look at the marine forecasts.
Welcome back to another edition of Alaska Weather Facts. I'm Dave Snider, and joining me today is Cindy Preller. She's the Tsunami Program Manager for Alaska Region's National Weather Service. And Cindy, we hear a lot about tsunamis in the news, probably a lot more than we used to, but let's remind everybody, what is a tsunami?
Thanks for having me, Dave.
Sure.
Tsunami is basically, it's really simple. It's just a disturbance in the water column. So the entire water column from the seafloor to the sea surface is disturbed by something major, usually a major earthquake. But it can also be a volcanic eruption, even an asteroid. Landslide is especially dangerous.
Okay, so if I'm sitting in my bathtub and I drop a bath toy, that could be a bathtub tsunami.
It is absolutely a bathtub tsunami.
Okay, very good. So Alaska is one of the states, or maybe the state, with the greatest amount of coastline. So tsunamis are a pretty major risk here in Alaska. Who is most at risk?
Yeah, Alaska is significant. We actually make most of the Pacific's tsunamis on the Aleutian Trench. And it's where the Pacific plate is subducting underneath the American plate. And we produce some very large, great quakes. And of course, the most at risk is the Aleutian Trench.
Okay.
But that extends into south central Alaska as well. They're at huge risk. And then southeast Alaska's risk is really mostly landslide focused.
Okay. Are there any places along the Alaskan coastline that don't have a tsunami risk, or at least a very, very low risk?
Absolutely. The Bering Sea's risk is very low, and the Arctic's risk is very low as well.
Okay, so when we're talking about tsunami dangers, those are places that need to be monitored, but probably not really.
No, I mean, I won't say never.
Yeah, sure.
Because I know better.
Science knows better.
Right. So,
very good.
Near to never.
Okay. Well, let's just say you're on the coast, anywhere in Alaska. What are warning signs that tsunami dangers are threatening you right now?
This is super important because Alaska's greatest risk, especially out on the Aleutians and South Central, is a near-field tsunami, and then of course the landslides in southeast. It's even more intense because we can't.
Shorter warning time.
No warning time.
Okay.
The earthquake is the warning.
Okay.
And that is the most important thing for anybody to remember. The water can arrive in less than 2 minutes.
2 minutes. Wow.
Yeah, at the National Tsunami Warning Center in Palmer, we need to get the warning out in 5 minutes. So for those near-field tsunamis, it's the earthquake is the warning. So if you feel shaking, and of course the first thing you do is drop, cover, and hold.
Right.
And you need to start counting.
Okay.
Slowly to 20.
The right way. How do you do that?
Oh, I teach kids to do it with their favorite things. So 1 chocolate, 2 chocolate, 3 chocolate, but you can count anything you like.
Okay.
And if you're thinking of something happy, that helps.
Okay.
Especially helps kids, but it'll help your
psyche.
So
you don't speed up because you're getting stressed out.
Right. It actually lowers your heart rate.
Interesting.
You know, so if you think of something you love and practice that. So you're in an earthquake, you're under the table, you're next to the ocean.
Okay.
Right.
Right.
This is important if you're next to the ocean.
Okay.
If you're not next to the ocean, don't worry about it. Just stay in place under cover.
And you're talking about a mile, a quarter mile? What's close?
A mile, even a couple miles.
Okay.
You know, our rule of thumb used to be a mile inland was safe, but the last few tsunamis have taught us otherwise.
Okay.
So, yeah, you know, in Japan we had inundation up to 10 miles.
Right.
So.
Okay. And that was a big quake.
That was a big quake.
So you have a quake, you're counting slowly to 20.
To 20.
What's next?
And if you get to 20 and it's still shaking, you need to evacuate.
Okay.
And that is, that's scary.
Yeah.
Because you're evacuating in a live event that's still shaking. You know, 1964 shook for 4.5 minutes. Indonesia shook for 12 minutes.
Wow, right.
Japan, I think, shook for 6. I'm not sure of that, but it was long. Anyway, more than 20 seconds.
And that's a sign of a very major earthquake, the worst.
Well, 20 seconds is a magnitude 7, so that's not the worst. But what a magnitude 7 can do is trigger a landslide.
Okay.
And those landslides might be a submarine landslide, so you won't see it, you won't hear it, you won't know it, and then the water's moving.
Okay.
So that's really, really, really dangerous. That's what happened in '64 first. Seward, Valdez, Whittier all had landslides first.
Okay. And when you're talking about the water is a warning sign too. What happens with the water that gives you a very easy visual sign that something's changing?
Not guaranteed. It might go out. It might go way out really fast enough to leave the fish behind. But that's not guaranteed. It might just be a fast flood instead.
Okay.
So either way, if it's acting like a super fast rising tide, faster than a tide should rise,
Right.
get out of there.
Okay.
And if it goes out really fast, get out of there. You know, we lost a lot of lives because people will go check out the new tide pools or
Sure.
pick up fish or shells or, you know, so, and it should feel weird.
Right.
You know, it should be weird.
So pay attention to those natural warning signs and how you feel, because those are maybe the only clues you have.
Right, and you know, sound also. You can hear a tsunami. It'll sound like a roaring train, maybe.
Okay.
Or it might sound silent because the water's been pulled out.
Right.
And that's pretty weird. Imagine camping
Yeah.
at night
Yeah.
near the beach, and all of a sudden you don't hear the ocean anymore.
That would be different.
That would be weird.
Huh,
Yeah.
okay.
And then you also might hear blowing bubbles, and that's actually from the pressure that's blowing the air out from the sand grains, rock grains.
Interesting.
So if you hear blowing bubbles, that's a little weird.
Okay.
Or clinking rocks, you know, like a rain stick. So those are the sound signs. So the visual is rushing in or rushing out, and roaring especially.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it takes a lot of work to get people and keep people aware of what the tsunami warning signs are and what the risks are around Alaska. And there's a website that can help them do that. Where can they go online to get more information for their school, their home, their church, their business?
Oh, there's several. The National Tsunami Warning Center has a website as well, and the easiest way to look that up is just NTWC.
NTWC.
The URL is not intuitive at all.
Okay.
There's also ready.alaska.gov. The state of Alaska has a lot of helpful stuff. Preparedness kits. They have everything you need to get ready.
Okay.
And then for teachers and others, there's a wonderful curriculum called Alaska Tsunami Education Program.
Alaska Tsunami Education Program. Okay.
And that's AKwx.
AKwx. Okay, very good. Those are really good tips to get more information and search that out and help your own community stay safe with the threat of tsunamis around Alaska. Next time we come back and talk to you some more about the Tsunami Ready program and get more in depth on how people can learn more about the risks and what to do here in Alaska. So thank you for joining us today, Cindy. And next time on Alaska Weather Facts, more on tsunamis around Alaska. We'll see you next time.
Welcome back. We've got pretty light winds in the forecast tomorrow for the southern and inside waters here at the coast. 25 knots, so small craft advisories for Lynn Canal again. Also up here on the extreme north coast, southeast kicking up to 25 knots in the afternoon, even an increase a little farther to the south. And then that increase continues, and by Monday we've got southeast 40 here on the south coast, east gales up to the north. Lynn Canal, Glacier Bay picking up to 30 knots. Small craft advisories for Stevens Passage, and winds becoming southeast to 30 knots for Clarence Strait. And Prince William Sound tomorrow, small craft advisories, same forecast for the North Gulf Coast, but the wind's a little more easterly, and northeast 30, east-northeast winds 30 knots, Barren Islands, Kodiak Island, gales out for Shelikof Strait, and 30-knot winds for southern Cook Inlet into Kamishak Bay. And then on Monday, we've got small craft advisories now out for the northern inlet, and 30-knot northeast winds for Prince William Sound. East 40 knots from the North Gulf Coast, seas right around 20 feet, and then gales, southern Cook Inlet, Kamishak Bay, almost Shelikof Strait. Small craft advisories, north to northeast winds here, Kodiak Island up to the Barrens. Bristol Bay tomorrow, northeast winds 30 knots. It's that same pattern right down to Cape Sarachef, and then south side gales 35 to 40 knots, strongest up towards Sitkinak. Monday, northwest 40 knots there from Sitkinak to Cape Sarachef, seas at about 15 feet. Minimum gales on the north side of the peninsula. Small craft advisories for Bristol Bay. Eastern Aleutians tomorrow, small craft advisories for mostly north winds, turning northwest, and then got north 25 knots on the north side of Adak and Atka, and then full gales. The south side, small craft advisories back to the west. And then again tomorrow night, strong winds will push into the western Aleutians. Now front will push eastward, so we're looking at some minimum gales for Adak and Atka, pushing in toward Nikulski, and then southwest winds of 40 knots back to the west, with seas at about 18 feet. In the Fox Islands, westerlies coming down, kind of a break there, weak ridge moving through, so it probably won't last the entire day, but definitely will be a break before the winds pick up again later in the day and Monday night. Otherwise, St. Lawrence Island, north 15, and north 20, pick up to 25 knots for the Pribilofs, and north to northeast for the southwest coast. And for Monday, light winds here, Nunivak Island, St. Lawrence Island, but northwest 30 knots there. South of Nunivak Island, south winds 20 for the Pribilofs, 30 knots for St. Matthew Island. And the Arctic coast, very light winds tomorrow, central and east coast, 5 to 10 knots, with winds picking up to 20 knots here for the western coast, and back down to 15, and then back up to 20 again from Wales to Cape Thompson. And the outlook for Monday, those winds drop off just southeast, or actually kind of variable, light and variable there from Wales to Cape Thompson, and then east 25 there up to Cape Beaufort, dropping back to 20 knots, 15 knots more or less for the central coast, and north to northeast, pretty light, just 10 knots on the east side. For tonight again, light winds, high pressure off the coast there, so areas of dense fog will continue. Flurries really not much of a significant factor at all, just the low clouds and fog. So areas of low IFR continuing through tonight. No change over the interior. Fair skies, light winds. Snow shower chances continue on the North Gulf Coast here, Prince William Sound. Actually tend to start to increase late this evening. Chance of a snow shower for Yakutat. Fair over the Panhandle and dry. Rain or snow, Alaska Peninsula, the eastern Aleutians, as this low center spreads rain up toward Kodiak Island, the other one following in behind. And what will happen is they'll actually merge. This will become the dominant low. This one will kind of trough out. So we'll have this for Monday right there, 975. So that kind of holds the front right there in Kodiak for kind of a long period of rain. Mixed precipitation, North Gulf Coast, again pulling westward throughout the day. Some could get up to the Chugach Mountains by evening. And then for Monday, that rain pushes eastward into the southern Panhandle. No change from the interior. A break here along the west coast to the eastern Aleutians, and then that next front.
These forecasts are to be used for planning purposes only. Call 1-800-WX-BRIEF for a formal pre-flight briefing. Always file a flight plan before you go flying. The U.S. Coast Guard Auxiliary urges you to leave a float plan with a friend or the harbor master before you go boating. Alaska Weather is made possible by the following sponsors.
The National Weather Service.